SBK Betting Podcast, a US Open special. The third golfing major of the season is almost upon us. It actually begins this Thursday. So we've got a stellar panel on cast to run you through the market leaders and hopefully find the winner as well. Who's on the panel, I hear you ask? Well, we've got golf tipster and writer and the in-form Bryan Nicholson joining us via the wonders of the internet.
No pressure.
Well, hey, look, you thrive under pressure, Bryan. And we've got the office lads, Marios to my right and Adam to my left in SBK Towers right now. Bryan, welcome back to the pod. Before we get into this year's US Open, could you give us a quick rundown of the shock news regarding the merger this week?
Well, to be honest, I expected that to happen or something along those lines at some stage, but not so quickly, to be honest with you. But I kind of thought that the three tours would stay, or Live Tour would just become another tour, and the other 10 big kind of tours in the world, and players could take up membership of whatever they liked, play on both tours, play on all the different tours or whatever. But I definitely didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But to be honest, I'm not really surprised at all. Money talks in the end, I suppose, and people just get carried away with stuff with social media and whatever, So no, it doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest. And I think it's good for the game as well, and it's good for the betting markets too. So I'm happy with it anyway.
Definitely good for the betting market. It's going to get obviously more players, bigger field, and better prices on some of the outsiders. One other question for you, Bryan. Do you think the merger will have an effect on some players this week? And I'm talking Rory McIlroy, for example.
Well, yeah, I think so. He was actually quoted, wasn't he, as saying he's had, I think, his hardest year mentally already, and so that's why, I'm kind of looking at so I was going to go to Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy, and actually just to pick up on something you said just there a minute ago. So he was 5-1 or something for the Canadian Open, and I was actually loving that because exactly that, that made all the prices for the outsiders, perceived outsiders, much bigger. And I was saying last week, a lot of the Canadians, and I mean, there was huge prizes compared, relatively speaking, if you look at the field. It was just that Rory was taking up so much of the book, and prices like 85, and Nick Taylor was really big. Adam Hadwin I think he was 65, and he was probably the best value of all those kind of players. But that's what you want. You want to take on, the big names, because that's, no matter how big you are, Jon Rahm or whatever, you just don't win that often anymore in golf. The fields are just so competitive. Like I said before, the top 100 guys have less than a shot between them, I think, in total strokes gained. And, the pricing the range of pricing should really be much more condensed in every kind of golf tournament. And it's not when you've got the big names, hence why we get opportunity. And the US Open is probably the best actual major for this kind of thing to happen. So, this is on the court, the toughest kind of courses. I think only 9 guys finished under par last year in the US Open. So these are courses where you make a mistake, you get punished. So it doesn't matter what your name is, you get punished. So, so they can show up all sorts of, a lot of outsiders or whatever have a better chance in this major than other kind of majors. So that's probably why I look forward to this one kind of the most in terms of betting purposes, and the Open Championships as well with the wind and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So the merger is yet another factor that you've got to weigh into your analysis and preview of this week when regarding the US Open. The tournament will take place at LA Country Club in, of course, LA on the west coast of the US. First time this venue has hosted the US Open, and actually the first time in 28 years that a major men's tournament has been hosted in LA. Adam, we'll come to you now. Firstly, very well done for putting up Cam Davis at 500 to 1 each way in the PGA Championship last month. He finished tied 4th. Secondly, do you have a favourite trend for the tournament this week, or an angle relating to the venue that you're using?
Yeah, I think you just spoke about it there, TC. I've been sort of doing some digging on some of the Gil Hans's other restoration projects, and I think you want to be taking a close look at kind of Southern Hills, Brookline, wing foot form. I mean, he's definitely left a stamp there, and I know there's a lot of videos going around on social talking about kind of the thick rough and everything they've done there around the remodeling of the course. So, yeah, I think you really want to be looking at form from, last year's US Open, the PGA at Southern Hills.
Yeah, that thick rough that you talked on now, I'm sure we've all seen it on Twitter, the video of someone dropping 3 balls into the rough and them completely disappearing. I know that I'd be hacking out for weeks trying to get those balls out. But
if you have 64 degree out, you'll be all right.
That's very true, yeah. Flop shots from 300 yards. Marios, what about yourself? What's your favourite angle this week?
My favourite angle is going to be around temperament. I think there are doubles and triples out there, like Brian touched on earlier. I think at Southern Hills you saw a lot of bogeys, a fair few double bogeys, but I think you can see a lot of triple bogeys here. I think once you stray off line here, get it in the wrong place on the fairway, I think it brings doubles and triples into play. So I think temperament, the guys that have got the temperament to bounce back or limit the damage in terms of what they do when things go wrong, I think that's a key angle.
Yeah, definitely. We saw back in the Masters when Jon Rahm double bogeyed the first and then came back to win. So he's obviously got a very good temperament, as well as plenty of others in the field, but some do not. And Brian, the same question over to you. Trend or an angle this week that people at home should be looking out for?
Yeah, so just kind of similar. I'm happy to take on the kind of market leaders because of that sort of reason. You can be one foul shot and the big guys, it doesn't matter your name, you can drop a few shots straight off the bat. But what I was looking at is just the shape of the course, just the way it looks even. It's very reminds me a lot of Sedgefield. So Sedgefield is going to Bermuda rough, just put it in the fairway, and then big sort of sloping back to front greens. So I know we did see the pictures of the balls in the rough and all, but there's a lot of places with the short mown areas as well. But I was reading some quotes, and the likes of Shane Lowry, was saying you can't short side yourself, you can't go over the green. He said they're not so much undulating greens, they're just sloped really, really much from back to the front, which is exactly a Donna Ross setup. So I think it could play a lot like one of those kind of like Sedgefield, basically. And I'm kind of looking at who has a good record at Sedgefield and who's coming into form right now. And yeah, I think very current form is going to play a big part of it too. So, and I've got a few guys on the short list who fall into, tick all those kind of boxes. And Tom Kim is one of them. So you remember, I think he started with a quad or something at Sedgefield this year or last year, and he blitzed the field in the end. So he's kind of one of the reasons why he's on my radar this week. So yeah, so approach play and good sort of scrambling skills around the greens, and a good touch with the putter and lag putting and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll come to Brian's outright tips shortly. Tom Kim there was a little spoiler as to one of them. Let's talk about individuals, but before we do, I'll run through the market. It's got a similar shape to the other two majors so far this season that we've seen play out, which is unsurprising. However, PGA Championship winner Brooks Koepka has leapt into the top echelon after securing his fifth major. Koepka's now 12-1 third favourite behind Scottie Scheffler at 8-1 with SBK and Jon Rahm at 11.5 with SBK. Rory McIlroy 14s and then it's 20s bar. Let's start with Koepka then, Marios. This guy lives for the majors. He's performed spectacularly this season. T2 at the Masters, won the PGA. Can he add another win to his tally this week?
Absolutely. I think he's got a terrific chance. Again, you touched on the pedigree. I think he has a lot of golfers beat before it's even started. He carries an aura around him. There are not a great deal of stats to go on when it comes to Koepka, given the tour that he plays on. However, when he has showed up, the two times he has showed up at the Masters and at Southern Hills, two completely different courses, and he's demonstrated that he can play on both. The course is going to play extremely long. It's a par 70. I think one of the par 5s isn't going to be reachable, but he's extremely long. So tidy around the greens. And the one thing that he demonstrated when leading from the front at Southern Hills is that he puts the ball in the right place. Yep. For a major, and when you're trying to limit the damage, putting the ball in the right spots around the track is key. So I think he and Scheffler are going to be the guys to beat, I think. I think he's got an extremely good chance.
That's a perfect little link there as well, because we'll move straight on to Scottie Scheffler. He had a week off last week, didn't participate in the Canadian Open, but he's been absolutely flying since February. Won the Phoenix Open, T12 at the Genesis, T4 at the Arnold Palmer, won the Players, T10 at Masters, T11 at RBC Heritage, T5 at Bryan Nicholson, T2 at the PGA, T3 at the Charles Schwab, and third overall at Memorial. Just a guy in flying form, super consistent. How close does he get this week, Adam?
He might get close, but he can't win.
Cannot win. You heard it here first, guys.
He can't win. You can't putt. You need to be able to putt to win golf tournaments. It's kind of as simple as that. And I go back to what Brian was just saying around the greens at LACC. I was watching a sort of course flyover yesterday, and I think that sloping nature of them is going to catch a lot of people out. And, unless if Scheffler spent the last week just working on his putting and he's turned a corner, then fine. But based on what we saw at the Memorial, just can't have it. under any circumstances. I mean, and let me be very clear. I saw some stats going around that you probably would have won by 11, 12 shots at the Memorial if he had been able to putt, but he just can't. I mean, I'm not disputing every other facet of his game is in tip-top shape, but yeah, he can't win.
Yeah, when I watched match play, his putting, I was on him that day. I know you were as well. I say that day, that tournament. His putting definitely let him down at crucial stages. Obviously, he's a phenomenal player. You just said they're a very bold prediction. I'm going to side with he can win, but I don't think he'll win. But Adam loves the old bold play. Clip that one up, producer Liam, as well, just in case Scottie Scheffler does win. Brian, let's talk about Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy then. Jon Rahm won the Masters in early April, as we've already touched on. Finished second in the Mexico Open later that month. I think he's performed pretty poorly on his last two tournaments. He won this back in 2011, though, and finished T12 last year. Can Rahm bounce back?
It's kind of similar to what the lads were saying there. So Memorial and the greens this week look similar. They're really fast and really kind of slopey. So when you get above the hole and all that, it just makes putting much more difficult. So you'll find out the guys that aren't really good putters as well. So, but to move on from there, then, as you said, I have Rahm down here as just it's kind of in and out. He's kind of volatile. It's kind of form line, and as I was touching on earlier, these are the type of courses you want to take on the short price market leaders on, because reasons like we said there, the putting and is temperament as well. So in this kind of course, you can see Jon Rahm, he's going to get really frustrated at times when he makes bogeys, and you should just move on straight away from that. But you can see certainly one bad hole leading into another for Jon Rahm, and he'll drop a few shots in a few holes and leave himself with too much to do. So that's for that reason and the price that he's at, I'm well happy to take him on. And again, with Rory, just what you were touching on earlier, he's just he doesn't look right to me. I think 3 of his last 4 final rounds on the Sunday, he shot in the 70s, and he's 2 72s and a 75. He did have a 69 in the major, I think, but something just doesn't look right. His putting doesn't look right actually on the last days. I was watching a close up there or something, and he's kind of topping his putts or something like that, and I don't know. He just mentally doesn't really look right to me, and it's probably a lot to do with the live stuff going on behind the scenes. And again, at a short price, happy to take them on, no problem on these type of courses. Yeah.
One thing just to say with Rahm, I totally share Brian's views, but I do wonder from a course correlation point of view how much Genesis form could play into this week. Rahm obviously won there earlier in the season, and we have seen over the last few weeks on tour, some of these guys that were playing phenomenally well at the early season kind of come back into form a bit. We saw it with Fleetwood yesterday, despite not winning. So yeah, I don't know. I just would say at the top of the market, Rahm's the one kind of niggler that I've got. He might just sort of pull something out of the bag here.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
I think they're very close to him at Riviera and LA Country Club. I think someone asked Max Homa, so I think he shot 61 or something. He had the course record here, and he was in one of the, I don't know, a junior event or amateur event or something. I don't know, but they asked him about the actual courses, and he said they were actually nothing alike. The grass types are completely different. It's much longer. You need to be able to drive it long at Riviera, whereas here, the fairway, it's going to be running fast and firm this week, so even some of the shorter hitters like Denny McCarthy will get the run. They kind of camber off and undulate, and I think Larry said it's not going to matter whether you're 50 yards back in the fairway or 50 yards further on in the rough. It'd be kind of similar coming out with the wedge or coming out with the longer iron. So I think a lot of the consensus is off the tee is not going to matter so much this week. It's a second shot course, and then all about your creativity and being imaginative around the greens and stuff like that. And whoever performs best around there is going to take it down this week. That's the general consensus from the quotes I've been reading from the lads, or the players anyway. So,
just to go back onto Rory McIlroy there as well, you said he's still a reasonably short price, but at the same time, for Rory McIlroy, 14-1 is quite good value generally. However, he's only won 2 tournaments in the past 12 months, none for the last 7 months. His last win was on the European Tour, and he looked like he was in a good position in the Canadian Open, and he just didn't fire, did he, at the weekend? So
yeah, I think it's just the weekend. There's something just looking at him on the final day, he just doesn't look with it. So I wouldn't put anyone off. At that price, I wouldn't put anyone off betting him, but just wouldn't be for me. I think it's probably around a fair price in the end. It'd just be like kind of neutral EV, so I wouldn't be bothered with that. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. So that's a quick synopsis of the four market leaders for the US Open this week. Let's move on to the tips then. These are the players that you should be focusing on. Marios, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go first this time. Who do you like in the 2023 US Open, please?
There's two that I really like. First is Shane Lowry. I think he's very accurate off the tee. He's in the top 20 for those stats. I think what they're saying about this course is the fairways are really, really wide. It's hard and fast. However, you've got to put the ball in the right spots on the fairway. It doesn't matter how far back you are, but you could easily run out of fairway if you're not accurate off the tee. His short game is incredible. I think his temperament is actually very, very good. Used to get hot under the collar. He likes the hard and fast conditions, and if it gets a little bit kind of linksy and the breeze picks up a little bit as well, he's got that major under his belt that he won at Port Rush. Only slight negative that worries me a little bit is the putter. He hasn't been a terrific putter this season. He's way down on the stats in that respect. However, in terms of experience and his game, I think he's trending in the right direction. I think he's got a terrific chance.
Shane Lowry's 70-1 right now. Obviously, you finished tied second back in 2016 in this competition. Not so good of late. He was cut didn't make the cut last year and T65 the year before, but we know with Shane Lowry he can definitely bounce back. Who else have you got for us?
The other one is the defending champ. I've gone for Fitz. Really solid form. I think Brian touched on it earlier. You've got to be playing well going into a US Open. He won at Harbour Town a couple of months ago now. He had a T20 yesterday. Game's in good shape. One thing I like about, it's not often said a lot about, is the caddy, Billy Foster. Knows his way around. A lot of these players will be playing the track for the first time, probably would never have seen it. I know Max has obviously seen it and played there before, but I think Billy on the bag will be a great asset to him. He's very straight off the tee. He has the temperament, and I think that Brookline form as well. He's proved it on a tough track as well. So I really like the value. He's not at the top of the market. He'll be a little bit further down, and I think he provides good value fits. I think he's got a really, really good chance.
Perfect. So two selections there standing out for Marios. Matt Fitzpatrick at 40-1 and Shane Lowry at 70-1. Adam, we'll go to you next. Where are you going this week?
Yeah, I'd back up everything that Marios said about Fitzy. I'll definitely be riding the train again this week with him. Again, to sort of add to it, he's obviously got form at other Gil Hanse restoration projects, Brookline, Southern Hills, and at the prices, I think you just have to be involved. So something that kind of puts me off a bit is I don't generally like to play guys that have played the week before a major. I prefer a week off, but he was in decent form yesterday. So yeah, definitely be on Fitzy. The one that I'm super duper keen on this week, and I'm stunned we haven't mentioned him as part of the kind of market leaders segment, is Victor Hovland. For me, this guy is the best player in the world right now. And if you can get Hovland at 16s, I think he is now 18s.
I think he's 20.
20, fine.
Right now,
yeah, have all of it. He's just in tremendous form, best player in the world. It's one of these things that he's been so good in majors this year. Yes, he hasn't got kind of his head in front, but if you could kind of pull 4 or 5 shots away, he probably gets over the line. And it was great to see that he did, obviously, at the Memorial last time. I just think his game really, really suits. Of those at bigger prices, Keith Mitchell is a slightly wild card selection, but he's got form at California tracks, drives the ball phenomenally well. He's not in good form at the moment, but it kind of feels like this should be the sort of track that he bounces back, and I'd be pretty surprised if he hasn't had his eye in at some point, given his affinity with the West Coast. And the other one, again, slightly wild card, but given that I know what Brian said around the fact this course won't be playing particularly long, but I think you've got to be on Bryson this week.
Big Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, I just he bounced back to form, didn't he, at the PGA, and he's been chipping away nicely on the Live Tour, and he has got that length off the tee. We just don't know that much about this course. Yes, like we've got quotes from the players, but I mean, maybe he can just make a mockery of it. And there was definitely enough about his game, I think, at Oak Hill to suggest that he can be there or thereabouts again. So yeah.
Cool. So Victor Hovland's 20-1. Matt Fitzpatrick, 2 selections now for Matt Fitz. He's 40-1, as already mentioned. Bryson DeChambeau is 55-1. and Keith Mitchell is 500 to 1, but we know how good you are with 500 to 1 shots after Cam Davis. As a second plug there for you. Bryan, straight to you now. Please give us your rundown of the outright market bets.
Yeah, I just touch on Hovland there. The thing I find hard with Hovland and it's kind of to weigh up his ability from tee to green versus his shortcomings, you might say, around the green. So if he has a really good, and obviously he's in flying form at the moment, but if he has a really good game from tee to green, and not even so much off the tee, but with his approach shots, and obviously you won't have to make too many chips or whatever, he could run away with the thing. But if he starts missing greens, I think he's going to really struggle around here to get up and down from the bunkers or from around the green. So that's why I always find it hard to weigh up Hovland and sort of courses like this. But like you said, he could easily run away with the turn. And like you said, if he's playing if he won at Memorial, he is playing brilliantly from tee to green. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't argue with you there either. But on to my first one. Yeah, I'm going to stick with Spieth actually. So I was kind of keen on Spieth for the last one. I got that one wrong because we had the wrist injury and all that now, but that's definitely improved. And you can just see him. He's just a word I like to use is simmering, and he's like, he's right there. I think he's ready to win a big one. And the US Open is his kind of grinding kind of really. He loves that kind of event, and just go choose some. Again, price. Obviously, the price is very important. So he's 29 now, I think, and I'd say there's a bit of guesswork when you don't know the course when I'm putting in the premiums and the variables and all and the key metrics into my model. So there's always a little bit of subjectivity in there, but I still, what I put in, it turned out a 9.37 for him. So that's a rating out of 10 and for course fit, which means versus his average kind of course, he's expected to gain around 6 shots on an average kind of course over the tournament. So, just looking at a few stats, he's 15th in approaches from 125 to 150 yards. He's 6th in probably the real key one, 150 to 175 yards. He's 7th in scrambling, and this is where it really comes in. He's one of the most creative and imaginative guys around the greens. So on these greens, if you even look at it, it's actually got a bit of a Brookline feel, a bit of a Brookline look. It's the word I'm using this week is actually rugged. So I think he's one of the guys that can really get up and down, if he has to. And you look T5 at Memorial last week, just kind of warming up. They seem to be in second gear. And yeah, just at the price, I really like Spieth. So he would be my number one pick, I suppose. Again, I was gonna have Tom Kim right up there, but he has to go into the outsider bracket now at 180. So I think I would go on to Tyrrell Hatton actually. I know I back Hatton a lot. Some people don't like him or whatever, but he's 38 at a fair price. 12th at Memorial. He obviously nearly made the playoff last night. He's third in strokes gained total. Strokes gained putting 7th. He's 11th in approach. He's 9.93 out of 10 for progressive form. So he's one of the guys really in form now. And we said earlier, that's what you're looking for here at the US Open, especially in a course like this. 11th in scrambling, 4th in total putting, 4th in approach put performance. So light putting is going to come into it this week. So then you're putting from the back of the greens, obviously the back to front sloping greens. That's going to be a big part of it. And his course fit is 9 when you take. I do add some mentality and stuff like that into the models. Now it'd be less if you put that in, but Tyrrell can go a bit mad, but if we can hold it together as for this game, it's like 9 out of 10. So yeah, I don't know. I really fancy him for a big win soon. Not just a win, but an actual big win. So he'd be my second guy. And then I have the other short kind of prices. Sungjae Im as well. He's just another grinder. He's got absolutely everything. He doesn't have a weakness in his game at all. His form is a bit sporadic too. He went off to Korea and won an event. Actually, his price is 60. It's way too big for me. He was actually up there after 3 rounds at Jack's place there 2 weeks ago. He had a bad last round, which that can usually knock them down the market. Just a bad last round, that's not taken into account. They just look at the finishing position or whatever, and that's where they kind of get that kind of price from. But he's 20th in strokes gained around the green. He's 8th in sand saves, which again could be important this week if you actually just look at the terrain. I think it's kind of I call it kind of half heathland, half woodland kind of terrain, and real rugged bunkers and up to like, perched greens, and there's a lot of elevation changes and undulations and a lot of blind tee shots. A lot of the guys that have visited the course have said that. A lot of blind tee shots and even shots into the greens. He's 34th in bogey avoidance. He's 8.53 on the course fit model. But just at the price, I'm happy to get Sungjae Im on side as well this week.
Yeah, so Jordan Spieth 29-1, as you said there. Tyrrell Hatton currently 38-1, and Sungjae Im at 60s. I know that you've got 4 outsiders for us as well. Would you mind please rattling through those?
Yeah. So again, we go to the we're going to go to the Sedgefield angle that I was talking about here earlier. So Siwoo Kim is probably the standout when you look at Sedgefield. So he's in flying form at the moment. 95 in odds wise. Sedgefield, he's won at Sedgefield. He's been second, he's been third, he's been fifth. He just loves the course. He loves that type of course. Fourth at Memorial, he was second at the Nelson. If I have him, so I've player profile pages here, which I just take the keys or the official stats from the PGA Tour, and I have my own kind of thing. I change them around a little bit of my own qualitative stuff, and he's 10 in approach, and he's 10 in his long irons, and he's 9th for scrambling. So, and on the official stats, he's 21st in approach as well, and he's averaging around 7th or 7.5 basically in approaches from 150 to 200 yards, and he's 26th in scrambling. So, I mean, I think he just ticks absolutely every box this week, and at nearly 3 figures, he's a great outsider. Denny McCarthy is another one. So he was very upset to miss out at Memorial and, be second there. I didn't actually think that would be a course that would suit him, but he came out after in the interview and he was saying he loves those kind of courses, the grinder courses, and he was saying himself he's great durability. He likes to hang in there. He's 170 on the card. He's literally, I think he's the best putter on tour at the moment. He's first in putting from inside 10 feet, which is going to be huge this week. He's 4th in strokes gained putting altogether. He's 9 out of 10 on the progressive form meter. He's form at Wyndham actually. Yeah, he's averaged 15th in his last 3 events there, which have been the last 3 years, I think. So top 10 in the Wells Fargo recently, which is another big championship course. And yeah, I think he could be an off the radar pick this week, which not a lot of people would be looking at, I don't think. So that's a couple, yeah. And then if we go back to, I think it's probably just, I didn't say Russell Henley yet, no?
No, go for it.
Oh, yeah, Russell Henley is another kind of big one that I like. So another Sedgefield guy. He's 3 top 10. He's 3 top 10s last 3 years at Wyndham, 8.9 course fit. But he's regularly challenged with Morikawa actually at the top of the iron stats. He's 10 out of 10 for approaches and long irons in my player profiles, which again are taken from the main stats. It's a rolling kind of average over the last 2 years of the main PGA Tour stats. He was second in approach last year. He's shown it in big events. He was T4 at the Masters this year. He's 9th in proximity. He's 12th in 125 to 150 yards, and he's 29th in scrambling, and again, 26th in approach putt performance, which again, that's light putting basically, and it's going to be big this week. And so the last one then is Tom Kim. Yeah, so he showed us all what he could do at Sedgefield or last year. He started with, I can't remember, I think it was a quad. It might have been a triple, but I think it was actually a quad. And then he came back and he actually won that tournament easily. He's 180 in odds. He's won a TP Summerlin, which is another kind of fast and firm track. He's 16th in strokes gained approach, 9th in greens regulation, 1st in approaches from 125 to 150 yards, 42nd in scrambling, and he's 10th in bogey avoidance. Again, bogey avoidance is a big stat in the US Open kind of grinding kind of events as well. So I know he's had his injury problems and all this year, hence why he's kind of off the radar a little bit. But I could definitely see him, doing something on the sly this week, shall we say. And that would be my 4 outside video.
You can't say that Bryan doesn't work for his money. 7 selections there for you. I'll quickly spin through them again.
Well, the more selections, the more chance of return. Well,
that is very true. Jordan Spieth, Tyrrell Hatton, Sungjae Im, Russell Henley, Siwoo Kim, Denny McCarthy and Tom Kim. The last 4 are all 95 or 3-figure prices. If you want to read more about Bryan's selections and preview this week, please go over to his column on betting.getsbk.
It's going to be a long column this week. There's too many guys.
I'll look forward to subbing that one, Bryan.
Chop down the short list.
For what it's worth, that should be live on Tuesday evening. You'll be able to see it Wednesday, Thursday, etc. Going into the big major. Again, for what it's worth, I'm staying loyal with Jordan Spieth. Take that for what you want, really. I'm not a golf tipster. I just love the guy, and he's a good price. So, as per my theory at the start of the season, I'll stick with Big JS. Okay, on to something different now. The guys are going to provide their golf bet builders for the US Open. Now, that's because SBK has a new offer. Bet £10 on the US Open outright market. Get a free £5 golf bet builder. That offer will be live from Tuesday afternoon, so make sure you check that out. Bryan, you can go first here. Go for it. What's your bet builder, please?
Yeah, just something simple. Just I might take. Well, I probably wouldn't take all of them, but you could choose maybe 5 of the 7 guys I mentioned there, and just.
If you were to drop 2 of them, then who would you drop? I presume you're going to say to make the cut, right?
Put me on the spot here. Yeah, to make the cut. Let me see. I would drop. I'd probably drop the 2 shortest prices, because there's no point in putting the short price guys in there. If you want to have a little, just throw a few quid on for a bigger kind of return, drop the 2 short prices and take the other 5 guys, and yeah, maybe a 5-fold accumulator on those guys to make the cut. And I don't know what odds I haven't seen the market yet, so but you get fair odds on it anyway. I know that. So especially with the likes of Tom Kim being 180 and Russell Henley 170 and whatever in the outright market, so. Yeah, I always like those. I don't know if SBK will allow you to do the kind of 4-folds from 5 kind of bets, but we can check that out and see that. But if not, just an accumulator, 5-fold accumulator to make the cut or something like that.
Absolutely, sounds very tasty there with your 5 outsiders. Adam, take it away with your bet builder, please, and then Marius, please pick up straight after.
Yeah, I'm going to look to the top 20 market, I think, TC, and have a bet builder with 4 legs. So Hovland. Fitzy, who we both sort of spoken about, and then I'll add in Jordan Spieth, music to yours, TC. I thought he was in cracking form at the Memorial. The putter's back. He has every chance this week, so very happy to chance him in the top 20 market. And then I'll chuck Justin Rose in there as well, who he plays well on these West Coast courses, and he continues in good form. He should definitely be in the top 20 this week.
I think he has decent Sedgefield form as well, if I remember correctly, George. Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, Marius, over to you, please, sir, with your quick fire bet builder.
Yeah, I've gone for a 4-fold as well. Bit of a mixture for me. I've gone for 2 big players to miss the cut. I think there's some value in JT missing the cut. Justin Thomas, not been playing particularly well for the last few months. And Rory as well. I think Rory's got a lot on his shoulders at the moment, and he looks like he's struggling with his game on and off the course. So I've got those guys to miss the cut. I've got a top 20 for Adam Scott. Experienced campaigner, drives the ball extremely well. He's always hanging around, lingering at a major.
That's a great shout. He's got good Riviera. I know Bryan poo-pooed this, but he's got great Riviera form. So
and his temperament is spot on. Nothing phases him. So I've got him in the top 20, and the last leg is Scheffler to finish in the top 10. I mean, I'll be stunned if he doesn't finish in the top 10. I think it's a solid 4-fold.
Yeah, Scheffler's been flying, as we've already covered on this podcast. Right, that's excellent. We've got outright markets covered, bet builders covered. We might as well all take Thursday and Friday off with a couple of cold ones and enjoy it in front of the TV. I hope you've enjoyed this US Open special. A reminder, if you bet £10 on the US Open outright market, you get a free £5 golf bet builder. That offer will be live from Tuesday afternoon. Please absolutely smash the like button below if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe too. We'll have another podcast for the Open coming up soon, as well as all of our standard content, including plenty of horse racing podcasts and ambassador pieces. Enjoy the US Open. Remember that Mr. Adam Baylis said that Scottie Scheffler cannot win this week, and we'll catch you soon. Goodbye.